Nothing quite like making school fun. Early on, one of my teachers told me that cooking is really like a spiritual practice. We go into the kitchen and we're preparing the nourishment and sustenance for our family, for children. And so it's always good to take a moment before we put our energy into the cooking to center our energy with ourselves. In meditation communities, the person who is the chef is chosen because they have the strongest meditation practice. The idea being that whoever is preparing the food is pouring their energy into the food and feeding the whole community. So it better be someone who is putting good energy into it rather than, oh my God, what a rough day I had, and I can't believe I'm cooking for my husband, he's such a jerk. And that all comes into the food. You know, when I was married and we were arguing, I would just be like, I think I'm not going to have dinner tonight. So I want to just take a moment, put us all in a good space, and harmonize our energy together. So if you could just get comfortable in your chair for a moment, drop your chin to your chest, take a breath in, and then sigh out. One more time, please take a deep breath in and sigh out. And just feel this moment now. Just feel yourself here, nowhere to go, nothing to do. About to prepare hundreds of meals, maybe thousands of meals in your future, and bringing a spiritual component to that process for yourself, for the people you love. And just notice what it feels within a few seconds to be able to switch to a whole different space. And promise yourself to access this space for a moment before you begin cooking, when you can. And then just come back again. Ways that I do that is I'll light a candle in the cooking area, has a spiritual connotation to it. Sometimes before I'll just take a moment and be like, okay, wash the hands, just feel like I'm doing something special. The same teacher, her name was Aveline Kushi, said that, you know, there's so many forms of art in life. There is painting and dance, and cooking is the only art form that we actually take into our body. So it's very precious in how we prepare our food and understanding that food is what creates our body, our cells, our tissue, our hair, our skin, our thoughts and feelings. And in our culture, in our society today, it's all very rush, fast food. But then people's personality is very rush, and fast food. And so this is a chance to take a different perspective. Okay, today I'm going to do an overly simplified cooking class. What I mean by that is a lot of times in cooking, whether you're reading a cookbook or watching chefs on television, they, in my opinion, overly complicate it to get people to watch TV or buy the cookbook. It's known in the publishing industry that most people who buy cookbooks buy them to read the cookbook and look at the pictures. They don't actually cook the food. The same thing is with the cooking shows on television. It's a bit like the exercise shows. People watch the exercise shows and oh my God, look at her abs. That's amazing. And on the cooking shows, they're like, wow, he is cutting so fast. I wish he was my husband. And so when I started doing cooking class, I was unaware of this, and I would do all those things. And then it was a series of classes, so each time, being a curious person, I would ask, so how many of you prepared the recipes from last class? And I often would have like 0 people raising their hands. I'm like, why are you here? And then through that process, I developed exaggerated, simplified way of cooking that you can then, whoever you are in this room, can do for yourself or demonstrate to your clients and move away from fancy ingredients, fancy cutting methods, and really make it very user-friendly so that people can actually cook the food at home. There's a couple of things around, I like being scientific. So, there's all these vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, and then I noticed in my scientific research that there were a couple of undiscovered vitamins that have not yet come into modern nutrition. And one of them is vitamin L, which is cooking with love. The exact same food. Usually you think if you have the food at home, you have the food in the restaurant, it's the same food. But I know and you know that even if you use the same ingredients, the food that you prepare at home and the food that you eat in the restaurant has a whole different feel to it. You leave that meal feeling different. So when you're speaking with your clients, encouraging them to cook on their own, I want you to remember talking about vitamin L. And then there's also vitamin H, which is home-cooked meals. And especially in this economy, people don't really realize how expensive it is to eat out. They spend $10 here, $20 here, $30 here, and it's a great motivating factor to have people understand it's not complicated to cook at home. It nourishes the family completely differently. And even if it's an individual cooking for themselves, it doesn't have to take a long time. And you prepare a meal once, and you can have that same meal 2 or 3 times. So can you see now that being a health counselor, it's not only an issue about telling people what they should be eating. You can get that done in under 30 seconds. You don't need a 6-month program for that. You just say, eat less meat, milk, sugar, chemicalized, artificial junk food, less coffee, cigarettes, alcohol, and you're good. More fruits and vegetables. You want to be able to understand that what you want to do to be successful is not about writing a prescription for food and telling people what to eat. Yeah, I should be having more vegetables. I should be drinking more water. You don't have to be a genius to tell people that. That's not what they're going to pay you to be doing. The thing is to really be, it's like a personal trainer. You don't have to tell people you should exercise more. Everyone knows that. It's a matter of holding their hand, walking them through, giving them love and support to be able to actually do what in their heart they really want to do. And the cooking part is an important piece in that puzzle. So you have 2 sides. You have the positive reinforcement, try it, make it work. I would give, remember when I was saying people would come back to the next session and they hadn't bought the vegetables that I told them? So I got to a stage where I would give them the vegetables. Right? They're paying $150 a month. I can afford to give them $3 kale or $1 of quinoa. So that made the compliance go up way high, because then they didn't have to go out and shop the thing and maybe never get there. So with all that love, there's also the other side, which is sometimes you have to use negative reinforcement, which is, for example, you say, well, do you realize how much it's costing you to be eating out every day? And then they add that up. The other negative reinforcement that I found really worked with people is the following story. I used to own a restaurant, and I want to tell you that the front of the restaurant is very different than the back of the restaurant. In the front of the restaurant, people are like, hello, welcome. It's so good to see you. Where would you like to be seated? How has your day been? And they get, pretty people who are very hospitable, doing all the right things. In the back of the restaurant, they're like, get me the damn pot! And throwing knives at each other. And quick, the health department is here. Clean up everything. Get those cockroaches out of the way. It's really bad in there. The average restaurant, it's really bad in there. You talk about the energy that goes into the food. It's that's not on the menu. And that story, I think, really drives it home for people, that they start to understand the difference between how they prepare food at home and the peace and quiet and love that goes into the food versus what's happening behind the curtain when they're eating out, even in the best restaurants.